Geno talked about Caitlin Clark again and sort of gave some backhanded compliments. Like he talked about how she connects to the audience, which was good. He talked about how she's tough, like Paige Beckers. He threw Paige in there.
Geno Auriemma just can't seem to keep Caitlin Clark's name out of his mouth. And this time, it wasn't all praise, it was shade wrapped in fake compliments. One moment, he's hyping her up for connecting with fans like no one else. Then the very next second, he drags Paige Buchers into the mix, as if to remind everybody that he still controls the comparison game. Fans were left shocked. Was this admiration, or just another slick way to downplay Clark's rise? And here's where it gets messy.
His way to, first he's like saying she connects to people, and he could have left it at that, I guess. But he almost goes on to put the, reverse some of that discourse, try to put it in others' laps because of Caitlin.
This is the same Geno who once brushed Caitlin off, flat out saying she didn't have the skills to dominate at the next level. Yet fast forward, and she's turned Iowa into a basketball empire, breaking records, selling out arenas, and rewriting history. All while Geno sits on the sidelines losing millions, losing credibility, and losing his grip on the sport he once ruled. Every backhanded comment he makes now only proves one thing. Caitlin Clark is living rent-free in Geno's head, and he can't stand it. Think about it. Geno built his whole reputation on recruiting dominance, on being the gatekeeper of women's basketball. But when Caitlin chose to chart her own path instead of bowing to his empire, she didn't just reject him, she flipped the entire system upside down. While Clark has become the face of the game, Geno looks like a man scrambling to rewrite his own legacy, spinning excuses on podcasts to cover up one of the biggest recruiting fumbles in history.
She's fearless. She just plays. She just is like a little kid in a driveway playing with her friends. Yeah, she's unique in that way. But in terms of what she's doing, people have short memory. Yeah.
Instead of owning up to the mistake of underestimating her, he's out here tossing half-hearted compliments mixed with shady little jabs, like pointing out that Clark connects with people, which everyone already knows, only to turn around and call her trash talk a problem. Seriously? Trash talk has been part of basketball forever, from playgrounds to pros. And now suddenly it's an issue because Caitlin Clark does it? The whole act reeks of bitterness, and fans aren't fooled for a second. What they see is clear. A legendary coach who underestimated a superstar, fumbled the bag, and is now trying to spin the story before history passes him by. Geno's digs don't sound like analysis anymore. They sound like desperation. But instead of giving Caitlin Clark her flowers, Geno Auriemma twisted the whole narrative, making it seem like the reason WNBA players push back on her is somehow her fault. He painted her confidence like a weakness, when in reality, that same fire is exactly what makes her a once-in-a-generation star. And here's the wild part. Every time Geno tries to frame her rise as controversial, Clark just keeps winning, breaking records, and proving every single one of his so-called critiques wrong in front of the entire basketball world.
Of the conversation.
The women's game. So if I think sometimes people get confused over the last 18 months, maybe over 2 years, that they think it was a rocket, that you all jumped on Caitlin Clark's back and went straight up. But you've been there.
And the sting cuts deep, because Geno didn't just lose a player when he fumbled Clark. He lost millions in ticket sales, sponsorships, TV deals, and the priceless bragging rights of being the coach tied to the most marketable athlete of this generation. What could have been the crown jewel of his career turned into a constant reminder that he underestimated the wrong one. And now, while Clark turns Iowa into a national phenomenon, Geno's legacy keeps taking hit after hit, with fans clowning him online, saying his bitterness has started to overshadow his wisdom. The more he talks, the more obvious it gets. He didn't just miss history, he missed the future of basketball. When pressed on Clark's greatness, Geno tried to soften his stance, calling her fearless and comparing her to a kid shooting hoops in the driveway. But even that came off shady. Instead of celebrating her unique mindset, he immediately pivoted, flexing that he's seen greatness before, as if Clark isn't doing anything new. But here's the truth. While other players hesitate, overthink, or crack under the spotlight, Caitlin Clark runs toward the pressure. She doesn't fold, she doesn't flinch, she embraces it, takes the shot, and thrives under a spotlight that would crush most athletes alive. That's what separates her from the rest, and it's eating Geno alive that he can't take credit for it. And just when you thought he'd stop, Geno pulled the same tired move, dragging Paige Buchers into the conversation, like her name is his safety net. Sure, Paige is a phenomenal player in her own right, but let's be real. Dropping her name next to Clark's wasn't about respect, it was about deflection. A way for Geno to dodge the truth that he flat out misjudged Caitlin Clark's worth. And that's his fatal mistake. Because Clark isn't just another talented guard, she's a different breed. Fearless, unapologetic, and unshaken by pressure. The type of athlete who doesn't play scared, doesn't fold when critics circle, and doesn't back down when the game's on the line. That's not hype, that's greatness. And Geno knows it. And every time Geno Auriemma tries to box Caitlin Clark in with somebody else, it just exposes how desperate he is to control a story that's already slipped through his fingers. When asked directly about Clark's impact, he downplayed it yet again, brushing off her rise as if it was just part of some inevitable evolution, like she's just another name in a long timeline. But that's the lie fans aren't buying. Caitlin Clark isn't some footnote in women's basketball. She's the reason the sport exploded in popularity, pulling in millions of new eyes with her game-changing style, charisma, and fearless play. And by refusing to give her credit, Geno doesn't look wise, he looks bitter. Like a man clinging to his trophies from yesterday while the future of basketball unfolds right in front of him, led by the very player he once dismissed as not good enough. His biggest fumble, trying to rope Clark into his flashy new 3-on-3 league, which was hyped up with deep-pocket investors, bold promises, and a game-changing January launch. But Clark wasn't having it. She flat-out refused to be tied to the same man who doubted her from the jump. That rejection shook the entire basketball world, because without Clark, the league had no star power, no ratings draw, no magnet for fans. The one player who could have made it a success wanted nothing to do with him, and suddenly Geno didn't look like a pioneer. He looked like a coach-turned-promoter scrambling to save a sinking ship. And fans? They let him have it. Social media lit up with jokes, memes, and brutal takes, clowning Geno for even thinking Clark would ever join his project after he called her fan base delusional and claimed she didn't have the toughness to survive the WNBA. Now those same words are haunting him because Clark has proven the exact opposite. She doesn't need his league, his stamp of approval, or his platform. She's the one making the game bigger, all on her own. Instead of Clark elevating his project into a cultural moment, Geno is stuck with empty seats, fading hype, and a reputation collapsing faster than the league itself. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to dominate. Every record broken, every sold-out arena, every highlight clip is another reminder that Geno's insults were nothing more than bitter noise from a man who lost the biggest gamble of his career. At the end of the day, Geno thought he could control the narrative. But what really happened is simple. He underestimated Caitlin Clark, and that mistake has cost him everything. While he rewrites excuses, she rewrites history. While he talks in circles, she keeps proving herself on the court. And now, the world is watching as his era fades, while hers is only just beginning. And that's the story. Geno's scrambling, Clark's thriving, and the gap between them just keeps getting bigger. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the drama in basketball isn't slowing down anytime soon, and you don't want to miss what's next.